You are listening to the Daily Homily for Magdala in the Holy Land.
There was a scholar of the law who stood up to test Jesus and said, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? Have you read it?" He said in reply, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." He replied to him, "You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live." But because he wished to justify himself, he said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man fell victim to robbers as he went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. They stripped and beat him and went off, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down that road, but when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. Likewise, a Levite came to the place, and when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. But a Samaritan traveler who came upon him was moved with compassion at the sight. He approached the victim, poured oil and wine over his wounds, and bandaged them. Then he lifted him up on his own animal, took him to an inn, and cared for him. The next day he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper with the instruction, 'Take care of him. If you spend more than what I have given you, I shall repay you on my way back.' Which of these 3, in your opinion, was neighbor to the robber's victim?" He answered, "The one who treated him with mercy." Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." The Gospel of the Lord. Today we find St. Paul, as we switch from readings of the Old Testament to the letter to the Galatians, filled with passion for the authentic understanding of the gospel. And I would like to touch on 2 points about that. The point of the authentic gospel, the Good Samaritan. And the point of the authentic gospel, the mysteries of Christ. And the mysteries of Christ not treated as theory, but through the heart of not a power broker like Pilate or Herod, and not an intellectual study like the scribes looking for problems, and not authority figures seeking to keep their authority in religion, but through the heart of his mother. She lived the gospel from his incarnation all the way through the mysteries of joy, of light, of sorrow, and of glory, right through to the Assumption to heaven and the coronation. And so the Rosary is a wonderful, faithful line, a guarantee of contemplation of the true gospel. When we are praying the Rosary, we are being evangelized, because the good news is penetrating our hearts through the perspective of a heart of love of his mother, who knows the mysteries from experience and also from growth, as she little by little learned the way of Jesus, who would sit on the throne of his father David, but that would first of all be the cross. How much she pondered the mysteries is very helpful for us as we grow in the work of the gospel, the spirit of the gospel. And the psalm today, 111, especially the verse we repeated in the response, "The Lord will remember his covenant forever." And a beautiful way to pray the rosary is pondering that great depth of history in God's path, preparing for the new covenant that we celebrate now in the Eucharist. His body given for us, his blood poured out for us for the new and everlasting covenant. What an amazing, simple, effective, heart-filled gift we have in the Rosary to accompany those mysteries of Christ and to know the fulfillment of the covenant that God gave, his eternal love, his divine love, which we cannot measure with our experiences of love. We cannot reach the bottom of them, the height, the depth, the breadth, the width, the length of this Christ-centered prayer that brings us a little bit more each day, each prayer, into those mysteries. And in the context of the special intention that initially Cardinal Pizzaballa called for on this day, and eventually then Pope Francis also adopted as a call to the Church all over the world today to pray for peace. In so many theaters of war, people are suffering. People are being beaten up. They're being plundered of their peace because of worry of pending threats, and then because of destruction pouring down upon them, as was unleashed exactly a year ago today in a new wave of horror. And so we look at the Good Samaritan as a very providential gospel reading for us today. And you know the story, it doesn't need more commentary as such, but the question could be, how do we help the children, the young people, the smaller children, the young adults who are being saturated with images of destruction and violence? So we are seeing in the media the story of the man going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, deprived of his personal dignity and all his goods, his health, assaulted, plundered. And our world is filled with these images from all the theaters of war presently in action in our world. The children need to have another wave of impressions reaching their mind. And it can happen even in the kitchen, because the wars are not limited to the major theaters in the world, but they actually can happen in every family. It's part of our human condition that we engage in hostilities. And we can do that verbally, we can do it emotionally, we can do it physically, we can do it very smart, intelligently. We can be sending arrows and we can be causing hurt. And then that happens. And there's no way to stop that happening because of the way we are. And then to have the response to that, how to deal with it. This is our big challenge, how to respond. And we all have a wellspring of anger, of impatience, of dissatisfaction in front of injustice. And it's good to learn the little steps, the hard steps, even if they're small, even if they're just in our own kitchen, in our own workplace, in our own school, wherever we are, and to become a person of reconciliation, to become a person like the Good Samaritan. How wonderful is that? You cannot improvise a person like this. It starts with small little things. One step after another. The ability to be able to say, I'm sorry, because we put our foot in it. We said the wrong thing, we did the wrong thing, or we didn't do the right thing. To be able to express appreciation for the other who has hurt me, kind of surprising. To discover the goodness of the other person, to bring it out, to celebrate it, to create little occasions to rebuild and bring down the tension and to rebuild tranquility, to establish order again, goodness, appreciation, love, affection, to develop that culture of the heart that's capable of living in a world of conflict. And then as we grow older at work, in political conversations, in society, we're able then with neighbors who are very upset, with people who are very broken, to help them on this path.
Thank you for joining us today. If you want to learn more about Magdala, follow us on YouTube and on Facebook.